One of my biggest pet peeves is when people accuse teams of having an easy ride with officials, and yes, this week I'm talking about Manchester United. I find it very hard to believe that just because Manchester United are as successful and as high profile as they are, that absolutely must mean that they're getting an easier ride than other teams, because that's the only thing that I can think of that sets them apart from other teams when they have questionable decisions go in their favour. I am of course talking about last night's match with Chelsea. Firstly, can I just say that I thought Chelsea were absolutely sensational in yesterday's match. For the first 20 minutes or so it looked like they weren't going to show up, and then all of a sudden someone turned on the gas and Mata's free kick was sensational, the way he controlled the ball to set up Ramirez's goal was absolutely superb, and even when they went down to 9 men, I thought that they didn't let United dominate them and that they could conceivably have scored a third goal. With the actual match critique out of the way, let's get on to the core of what I want to talk about, and can I just preface this by saying that I think I've done enough in my time for GB Posters to prove that I'm not overly biased towards Man United and that I can be objective when I need to be. Believe me when I say I would have these views regardless of which team it was getting accused of having an easy ride with officials. People openly and freely say that they think Manchester United get decisions from referees that are biased and that wouldn't be given if it was any other team. Here's the tweet that inspired me to go on this rant. Wow, words fail me. It's laughable how many decisions they get. Now that tweet does come from a Leeds fan, so there is rivalry behind that opinion, but this kind of belief against Manchester United is everywhere. So I'm going to examine each of the incidents in that game that people are pointing to as examples of Manchester United being beneficiaries of bias. How's that for alliteration? Punditry. Firstly, the Ivanovic red card. Ashley Young was on a break thanks to a great bit of deceptive attacking from Van Persie. He was clear on goal, and as Ivanovic tried to step round him, he clipped Young's heels, which brought Ashley Young to the ground. Now you can argue that it was accidental, that the intent wasn't there, but the fact remains, Ivanovic's decision meant that contact was made, which brought Ashley Young to the ground. Let's take a look at Law 12, as outlined in FIFA's Laws of the Game, a link to which I'll provide in the description for your reading pleasure. It says, a player is sent off if he commits any of the following offences. There follows a list of 7 offences, but I'd like to highlight one. Denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity to an opponent moving towards the player's goal by an offence punishable by a free kick or a penalty kick. In this instance, Ashley Young was clear on goal, and had Ivanovic not brought him down, Ashley Young would have had to mess it up quite a bit not to score. So in this case, the referee followed the rules of the game, did his job, and gave Ivanovic a red card. Now, if he'd only produced a yellow, I think an awful lot of pundits would have sort of said, hey, I think Ivanovic is getting off lightly there. So all of a sudden, the ref does his job right and he's bowing to United pressure. Incident number 2, the Torres red card. Now, this one's a little trickier. Torres was brought down by Johnny Evans from what we now see as the most minimal of touches. Let's not forget, we at home have the benefit of slow motion replay and a digital zoom function which allows us to see the absolutely fractional contact made between Johnny Evans and Fernando Torres. In the run of play, in the heat of the moment, how is anyone supposed to see that? Beside which, didn't really help matters that Torres threw himself down to the ground quite theatrically. And this is another point. So much is made about diving being prevalent in football today. The media attention given to it is huge, so referees must feel a pressure to try and stamp it out wherever possible. In this case, it does look as though Torres has overrun the ball, felt a slight graze on his ankle, and decided to throw himself to the ground in order to try and win a free kick. It looked like he dived, and the referee decided that he was going to give him a yellow card. Unfortunately, he'd also had a previous yellow card, which meant by the rules of the game he had to be sent off. You can't complain about refs ignoring diving one week, and then complain the next week when the ref thinks he sees diving and tries to discipline it, just because it's happening against Manchester United. That's nonsensical. As an added point, going back earlier in the match to Torres' first yellow card, he basically karate kicked Tom Cleverley, studs up, foot right in the upper arm. Going back to the laws of the game, once again, I personally would call that violent conduct, which is another example of an offence that can get you a straight red card. He should have been off then and there. Now, I'm definitely not saying that 2 wrongs make a right, but what I am saying is that in this case, here's an example of a decision going against Manchester United and in favour of Chelsea. And finally, the Hernandez goal. I'll say it here and now, it was offside. There is no question of that, the goal was offside. But it's not as if Manchester United are the only team in the history of football to be given an offside goal. This happens at least once a week. In the match immediately preceding it, Luis Suarez was denied a goal after an offside call was got wrong in that case too. The suggestion that somehow this goal was given purely because it was Manchester United is laughable, it's ridiculous, and it's quite petty. And breathe. rant over. I'm fully expecting people to disagree with me. Go ahead, that's the whole point of this, to get people talking, so leave your comments below and I'll reply to you. Let's get chatting about this. That's how a conversation works. That's it from me. Next week will be 10 weeks into the Premier League, and with some dodgy maths, I'd call that about a quarter of the way through. So I'll take a look at my predictions and compare them to the league table and see where we stand. Until next week, I've been Daniel J. Layton vlogging for GrandBisonPosters.com. Ooh.
Head over to the GB Posters. They sell posters and other things. And it's good. So good.
Bye for now.